Oh, good morning. Welcome to Video Diary 3. It's 10:09, 31st of May. Ready to get the day. Although I normally start getting the day before 10 a.m. Anyway, so oh, I normally have my gold coffees, like the instant golds, toffee nut latte, or is it latte? I don't know, something like that. And it's amazing. Today we don't. We have nice, normal, instant. Although I must admit, I do like instant more than whatever. French press, cafetiere. I don't know what you call that kind of coffee. But I prefer this, generally speaking. The only time anyone really prefers cafetiere or whatever coffee is when they turn it into a dessert by adding loads of syrup and sugar and milk and stuff. Which I can get behind. So anyway, let's just jump right in. First thing to talk about is jobs. So last week was a busy week in the job front. On Tuesday, I had my Engage ESM interview for graduate technical consultant. On Wednesday, no, I done this on Tuesday as well. I done my JP Morgan coding uh, interview, I suppose, like the coding challenge thing for the interview. And for Accenture on Thursday, I had a virtual assessment centre. So let's start from the top. The reason all these, by the way, are all in right now is because time's ticking away. You know, I finish uni 17th of August and I want to go straight into a role, or at least what I have one lined up. So, yeah, it kind of started getting to panic stations and I was applying to quite a lot. I thought to myself, I'll give these three a go. If I don't get any of these three, then it will be panic stations and we'll just apply for junior software engineer roles at like non-notable firms, I suppose is the way to put it. So anyway, first was Engage ESM. Started off by I'd spent loads of time revising like the company and stuff like that, the job, as I would. Um, and when they asked what I know, I told them some of what I knew. You know, I'm good with numbers and stuff, so I had all the numbers in my head as well, like number of employees and stuff like that, countries that they're in. Which, like, off the top of my head, something like 11 billion euros in revenue. What is it? Something's telling me 510,000 employees in 45 countries or something. I don't know, I'm getting them all mixed up now because of Accenture. You know what? Let's never mind this bit right now because I'll explain my brain's a bit fried right now with jobs and unis. So that's what I get for trying to impress myself. Anyway, so had that, and they were well impressed at that off the get go, which I thought set a good tone for the rest of the interview. Um, Said it was like the best interpretation of the company or description they'd heard. Um, which I'm not saying to bum me up, but just to kind of set out this is then how I felt going into the interview. So then they explained how the interview was very informal. They had a little presentation to tell me about the the role and more specifically the company. Um, oh, by the way, the three people was Ben, technical guy, trainer guy for the graduates. Will and Lucia were HR, I think. Like they were the kind of interviewers, I suppose. Uh, so getting distracted with this window, honestly. So that interview went well, really well. I thought it was very informal, which I liked. It kind of allows you to be more of yourself and say things off the cuff, as opposed to just kind of like sitting like a little robot with these rehearsed lines like, "These are my strengths and weaknesses. This is what I do in this scenario." You know, so that was really good. Straight afterwards, there was a coffee break. Should be with the graduates in in person, like real life, real person. um, But obviously we couldn't because the interview couldn't be in person. So it was a virtual coffee call. And yeah, that was pretty cool as well. Yeah. It was it's kind of what you expect from such calls, which is kind of like you have to ask questions or it's just kind of an awkward silence. So make sure you ask questions. So that went well. Straight afterwards, had my JP Morgan coding test, where on the second coding challenge, I clicked run, and then it just buffered to say that it was running for the next 25 minutes. So it's 45 minutes for the second challenge, and for from 23 minutes until the timer ran out, it was just said running. So I couldn't run my code. I couldn't even run it once because that was the first time I tried to run it. I think I must have done an infinite loop, but I just presumed they would have a timeout. You know, if they're going to be testing things, you'd imagine they'd have a timeout so they don't just mess up their servers. But you know, apparently not. So I had to do the whole code basically like without running. So hopefully it works. I have no idea. Then emailed HireVue and said, "Oh, by the way, this happened. Here's my code. I don't know if he even saved because the submit button was grayed out, and then when the timer got to like 0, it just moved on." And they were like, "Yeah, don't worry, it saved the code." And I'm like, "No, but the issue was it didn't let me run it. Can you tell JP Morgan that this code was without it being ran? Like this is an error you have. I'm just worried about the code not going through as like the bottom of the barrel worry. The top worry is you need to tell them it was compromised and that it just didn't work right." Oh, wait, there's Wolfie. He's not been in on morning. I need to go let him in. Say cheese. Right, come on then. Right, so that's Wolfie. Got his food and that. It's because he's not been in all morning. And he always comes back in for like his kind of brunch before he then comes here for sleep. So, JP Morgan, yeah, that happened to the HireVue thing. I was like, oh, I won't complain again. I'll just leave it. And if I fail, then I'll complain. If I get through, then I won't complain. That was my train of thought. So anyway, then it arose on Thursday. It's always weird when people are walking by. Because I used to always think that no one could see in. I thought, oh, there'll probably be reflections. No, as soon as you walk by, you can see me and my laptop with all the stickers on it. So, then I had the Accenture Virtual Assessment Centre on Thursday. It was 3.5 hours, but it actually flew by. So I was kind of trying to convince myself on the Wednesday, to be like, oh, I kind of can't be bothered to do this. I've got uni work I need to do, blah 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 blah. Trying to convince myself out of it, and so I ended up not, and I went, and it actually turns out pretty good. So for the Accenture role was a software engineering graduate role, lasting 1 year, whereas like Engage GSM's 2-year consultant. So different roles. But it turns out from the Accenture thing that it looks like you kind of are a consultant of sorts. The way they were talking about the job, about how you go and see clients and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if that's just kind of, this is the job, don't know. So anyway, the first half went pretty poorly. Second half went really good, I think. So I'll start with the good. Second half was all about like actual interviewing, like your person. So it consisted of 3 sections. One was a paired exercise to do with I don't know how much I'm supposed to disclose. I know I'm not supposed to disclose any specific questions, so I won't. But basically, you have to. The paired exercises that you summarize and create action points regarding a meeting. That's roughly what I'm going to say with that. And that actually went really well. I was able to find action points, and then at the end, when we were asked if there's anything we could have done better, we were asked questions at the end individually after being able to discuss between ourselves, the pair, and answer the questions well, I think, which was... And we even got the interviewer to laugh, so that was a win. Actually got all 4 to laugh. It's all about building a rapport. Even if it's a fake laugh, still counts. So that went well. Then the next section was to discuss and describe a technology that you're interested in and its applications. And for me, I was looking through all this stuff beforehand, because you told you about this question in advance. And I was coming across different things, and digital twins kind of caught my eye as... Initially, actually, it's probably the simplest of them. But I thought it seemed too obvious, so I wanted to look into it more. Looked into it more and came up with a kind of idea about utilising digital twins for supply chain management of goods which have to be kept within certain humidities or temperatures. For example, vaccines, where it's needed in India, but to transport it has to be like minus 60 degrees. So you'll be able to follow it through digital twins, and then if it messes up at any point in the supply chain, at any point in the distribution and transport, then you will know weeks before you would have known if you didn't know until it had reached the customer and then they informed you. So it buys you time, which saves you money, increases customer service. So that was the idea, and additionally it can be between different things, so from pharmaceuticals to food to even clothes and things like that. And then you can even use trends wee Wolfie's back. Even use try and find trends and like where the temperature breaks to see if there's a possible reason, or at least a correlation between, say, a supplier and the likelihood of moving out with the temperature range. So that was my idea. I think it went down really well. And then that's because that one's a kind of discussion that's so what interests you about it. And then the final part was a strengths-based questions thing. I know I'm not allowed to disclose these ones, but it's just your basic strength stuff. Or less basic and more, you don't really have to revise for it. I mean, I suppose it could help if you think of like different things like your strengths and your motivations and interests and stuff, just to kind of bring them to the forefront of your mind. But during the time, it's like you just answer kind of basically honestly about how you would approach things or how you feel about things type thing, you know. So those 3 went pretty good. Engage one I was really happy about. The coding one, don't know. And then the Accenture one, I didn't even talk about the bad Accenture first half. So the first half was all basically problem solving, which, you know, is the bit I thought I would be good at. But turns out, no, I started kind of getting stressed with stuff. It was like the classic, I was sitting on my chair, right? And it's a wooden chair. And I normally have like a little cushion on it, and then sometimes I put like an extra cover on it, like a blanket folded up for support, right? So that's what I normally would use. So I went into the living room because the internet kept dropping in here. Oh, I meant to mention that too. The Engage ASM one, my Wi-Fi extender cut out a couple of times, and then it just dropped. And I was like, oh my god. So I had to go to the living room. Luckily no one was in. So then for my Accenture I had to set up my desk in there. But it just started getting so uncomfortable, the chair I was on. And it started being like timers ticking down on the questions that you're to answer, and you're stressing out about this. And it's difficult. And your chair starts to be uncomfortable. And everything just starts piling on top of one another. So anyway, that happened to the problem solving one. Problem solving one was like a combination of like a good few different ones, and I noticed afterwards that I had messed it up. And then in the how would you approach client situations, I'm not very confident about that. That was the kind of first couple of questions. So to get the ball rolling on that was a bit, a bit sketchy. Probably would have been, don't know. I don't know. So, I was going to say something like you could maybe have done some sort of speaking group exercise or something at the beginning to get everyone in the mood, in the zone. But I don't know. But anyway, it went pretty well. If it's based in the second half, I've got it. Like I've got through to the next stage, which is a technical interview. But they call it an offer call to then tell you if you're through to the next stage or not, because this is the final stage in non-technical jobs. But it's not the final stage for technical jobs. But they said the technical is just to kind of find out where you're at, which would make me believe that the offer call is an offer, and then the technical interview is literally to see where you're at. But I don't know. We'll find out. So, that's what happens with jobs. And I was thinking to myself, I should get the 8-gauge one, hopefully. They said that they'll get back to me by Tuesday-ish, which is tomorrow. However, I got an email on Friday night at like 7:30. Oh no, 7, to say, oh, look, I have news. Call me. Got the email saying call me before 8:30, and I'm like, oh my god, surely it has to be an offer, because why would they make me phone at this time on a Friday? But I did know that she was just off a call with Will from the interview. So I tried to phone, rang out, waited 10 minutes, 15 minutes, tried to phone again, rang out. At this point I'm like, oh my god. The suspense, because during this time I'm supposed to be working on my dissertation, but I can't, because I'm so stressed about this. So by this point I've been waiting now. I had been talking to my mum about how to take the call for like 10-15 minutes. Then I had waited 15 minutes between calling or whatever, and then another like 15 minutes until she phoned me. So I've been waiting now like 45 minutes, trying to kill the time on YouTube. And she said that Will was very impressed at the interview, so I'd like to offer you the role. So, it was such a relief, man. Such a relief. Like, to put it into context, I have applied for a lot of roles, and all these red marks are rejections. So to get a role offer, oh my god, it feels good. It's almost like I'm like 99% sure I'm going to take it. So this next part is just what it's like. It's not reality. But it's like you just spend so long trying to get an offer that when you do, even just the offer itself feels like an accomplishment. Because it almost feels like in your head now you know that, for lack of a better word, you're employable at that level. So they wanted to give me the good news on the Friday and say that official offer will come through by Tuesday, so probably will come through tomorrow, when they would officially get back to me. But to let me know that I've been offered the role in London. During the call, during the interview, they kind of I said something about Edinburgh, can't remember what, and they were like, oh, would you rather move to Edinburgh? And I kind of was like, they try to like suss me out if I really want to move to London for this job. So I was like, well, obviously Edinburgh would be preferable, but I don't mind moving because I was expecting to move anyway, and where I move to doesn't really bother me. Like, even if I move to Edinburgh, that's still going to be like 4 hours away from home, and I know London's like 6. Yeah, because if I drive to Milton Keynes, it's like 6 to 7 hours. And I know it's like quite a bit of difference, but the concept in my mind is the same. I will have to move anyway. So then on the call about the offer, she said that the only concern they had was that to ensure that you are willing to move to London full long term. And I was like, yeah, of course, because at least for the duration of the graduate role, I'm not going to put myself out because I'm expecting to probably have to move to London. Best option was Edinburgh. Next best likely was like Belfast, and then it was London, just because of where it so happens that like consultant roles are based, and London has the most. So I thought it's more than likely that I'll have to move there at least for the beginning of my career. Um, but I thought it was weird that she said long term because during the coffee break, it turns out that one of the guys there, he went to St Andrews, same as me, but left like whatever it was, like 2.5 years ago. To like left as graduated, and then went to work for Engage. Then he said he's been there since, and for the past like year, he's lived in Edinburgh. So I was like, oh, in my head, I'm thinking, nice one. That means I could probably work in Edinburgh. Excuse me. Means I could probably work in Edinburgh after I've spent however long is necessary in London and work remotely. Because even another guy in the coffee break, he started in January, should have started in September, and he has worked purely remotely since. So current idea would be to be in London for as little time as necessary, mainly due to accommodation prices. It's like, what's the point in forking out like £1,000 a month, you know, if I could not do that. So the plan would be to stay in London for as long as is absolutely necessary, and then work remotely where possible. Like even just going to London, I don't know, once a week or something would be fine. But because it's client work, I don't suspect that London's a necessity other than for the first 3 months of training, which they explained. Because that was online for last year's, but this year it should be in person. But we don't know. So anyway, it's brilliant. I was so buzzing on Friday. But mum and dad were away in the camper van, so I phoned them. I phoned Gran and Papa, phoned my Gran, phoned Joanna. So me and Wilvie cracked open a cold one with the boys. Me and Wilvie on the Copperberg. But no, it's so good to finally get an offer. So yeah, I'm like 99% sure I'm going to take that. I just have to proof over everything tomorrow when the official letter comes in and double check everything. So it looks like a good stepping stone, especially for the first step in my career. And if I can work remotely, the amount I'll be able to save will be insane. And it would be exactly what I want. So, also the role is exactly what I want. And with working like with ServiceNow and stuff, it kind of would force me into like specifically learning about ServiceNow and the type of what they do, as opposed to me sitting in my room thinking, oh, what's my purpose? What job should I go for? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So you need to just pick something and go with it. But no, I'm mega excited to start that because consultancy is exactly what I want to do. Don't want to be a software engineer. Although you do have to code a little bit here and there for it. It's not like the main part of the job. And it seems you can work remotely whilst you're working with clients as well. So it sounds like an amazing experience. And I can't wait to do it. This has been going on too long. That's ages. It says 28 minutes, but it shouldn't be. Right, so we'll jump now from jobs. So jobs, I had 3 interviews, got an offer. We'll get the official offer tomorrow. And I'm absolutely buzzing. So, next. Uni. So my dissertation Literature review, first draft, and question revision is due today. And he wanted 5,000 words with a higher likelihood of up to 7,500 words. So he gave us this on the 4th of May and expects us to do it by the 31st of May. Keep in mind, my last exam was, the 21st? So basically for the first 2 weeks that he had told us, I just wasn't going to do it because I have my whole summer for my dissertation. So I kept doing my deadlines, and then last week it's like the focus right now is getting a job. So I've been focusing on a job, and I've also trying to be focusing on my literature review. But as my undergraduate dissertation was in computer science, so I've created an app and just wrote documentation, testing, the heuristic evaluation, all this kind of stuff. I don't really know how to do a literature review. Like, I don't really know the order in which things go, the argument in which it's written. I've briefly tried to read some, but it's like, I'm trying to figure that out. So right now, I have about 3,000 words in an annotated bibliography. I have a couple of references which I want to include. So I'm going to work on that for maybe 4 or 5 hours today. Get it up to 5,000 words in an annotated bibliography. Then I'm going to rearrange it into a kind of structure of a literature review. And then I'm going to just leave notes for my supervisor, Chalal, and say, "Hi mate, I've never done one of these before. I don't want to change this from annotated bibliography into an actual literature review, because if I'm still going to cut back and move stuff about, in my mind everything's clearer if it's in kind of bullet points, as opposed to a big chunk of words." So yeah, I'm going to do that today, so that's exciting. That's literally what I just spent all last week doing, was trying to find sources to kind of open up my research question. Because my research question was initially how prominent are transient advantages in large tech companies. So I was trying to think, I want to do something to do with competitive advantage, and I want to do something to do with large tech companies, because I thought their information will be easily accessible. Oh, and how does that relate to financial performance or firm performance? That was my initial question, and now I'm kind of moving away from that a little bit, because to identify advantages and stuff just seems like it will be an absolute nightmare, because there could be a bazillion of them. Like, there could be things that you don't know about, like supply chain things, or like human capital, or financial resources. It could be a myriad of things, specific designers, anything. So I was like, we won't do that because that sounds like a pain in the bum. So I started doing more reading about not identifying them, but their usage. And there's nothing on large tech companies, which I thought was bizarre. So I found a thing called nodal advantage in platforming and ecosystems, which is a kind of something that I had in the back of my mind to consider. So now the question is looking to be more in the direction of... I'll read it because... something along the lines of the large tech companies use platforms as a sustainable competitive advantage, and do they use ambidexterity, which is to have your core business, and then for your sustainable competitive advantage, and then an emerging business to try and make a new advantage or a transient/temporary advantage. Do they use that to create temporary advantages on top of this platform to keep the sustainable competitive advantage continuing? So that's the question-ish. And I have to just try and reframe it today to actually a real question. The goal, I'm thinking, is to make a model or a framework of this platform plus temporary advantages equals sustainable competitive advantage. But I want to make it a model around something like Google, Apple, and what was the other one I had? Microsoft. So those three, notorious for platforms, product families, ecosystems. So I want to see if I can make a model to model how they do it. So that's kind of the question, and I just need to frame the literature review in such a way. I think it's become awkward for me because for my literature review, I'm looking at like, instead of just reviewing loads of literature on a subject and finding gaps, I've kind of come up with questions which I want to answer and then try to find answers to them and to be given basically nothing. So I'm struggling to find 5,000 words worth of things to explain what's already been done because I can't really find it. So I'm kind of trying to go through the history of like, here's how sustainable competitive advantage occurred or emerged, and then transient, and then ambidexterity, and then platforms, and then try and link it all back in together. So we'll see how that goes. So that's due today, and then I have the meeting on Thursday to talk about that and methodologies. How exciting! So it's non-stop. Honestly, it's non-stop. Next, crypto. People are saying we're in a bear market. Don't know about that. I made a tweet to joke about it, but everyone's like, "Oh, we're in a bear market," and then my whole portfolio is up like 20% in 7 days. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I get where they're coming from, but I think it's because people on YouTube, they're just so, they need the extremes to keep their channel relevant, and so they'll scream bull market and then they'll scream bear market, and it's like, a real bull or a real bear market is supposed to last a prolonged period of time, so don't just like, be changing your opinion just at the drop of a hat. So I don't know, we'll see how things go with that. Probably want to buy some more coins. I've got a couple in mind, mainly probably just buy Bitcoin, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do right now. I did see an interesting video by Tech Lead, ex Google, ex Facebook Tech Lead, also millionaire, and he was, who's like Hamlin that side, I don't know. And so he was talking about Tether and how they don't really have anything to back them. And then he was talking about how there will be is it CBDC, country backed crypto, CBD, country backed denominated crypto. I don't know, something like that. But CBDC, basically government issued crypto for the company. So it makes sense that not every company would use Bitcoin, because it would kind of be like the way every country in the Eurozone or in the European Union use the euro. And so, you're just chilling. I don't know, just going to make up a scenario. Say you're Portugal, just chilling, no spending too much, no printing too much. You're just chilling. Everything's going right. And then Greece is like, everybody, I'm just going to get in loads of debt. I've never had a credit card this big before. And then next thing, the whole of the Eurozone is affected because of it. So that's kind of thing with Bitcoin is like, do you want to peg your country to Bitcoin? No, because it's like, you don't then have control over your money, and the whole point of currency, fiat currency, is for governments to control access to money, which in turn is the access to resources and power. So it's like, there's no way they're going to do that. And then if they bring in the CBDC, they're going to be able to track every single cent or every single pence and where it goes. Then think of the amount of money that data is worth, to know exactly where money goes and the trail that it follows, and how you could position ads and products around this. And not even that, just you can almost control where it's going to go if you know where it's going to go. So the whole thing with that, it just makes cryptocurrency seem, at least in its present form, that it's not going to last. But time will tell. We'll wait and see. I still can't see Bitcoin ever going away, because I think if that does happen, Although Bitcoin will probably be kind of, legislated possibly out of existence. Despite that, it will probably still exist, just not mainstream. I don't think it will go as mainstream as people are making out to be. Especially, it'd be different. See if everyone who knows crypto and knows what it's about, if everyone was like that already, then it would make sense for it to possibly become mainstream. But the fact that not many people know about it, and even the people in the loop don't even really understand how it works, how it operates. Like, even me, I still don't really understand how a lot of these smaller coins operate. But often it just seems that it's literally nothing. They're literally just a little number in your computer where you're hoping someone else will pay more for it. That's essentially what's happening with it. That's especially for ones which don't have a product. They're just something like Doge. So that's the crypto thing. Not really sticking in with the news and technical analysis stuff. Just kind of listening here or there, keeping my eye on it, because it's like, what's the point? I'm not gonna say sell at a loss, expecting it to go lower and then buy so that I don't lose as much. I'm more in it for the sake of, if I buy here and now it's dropped to here, I'm gonna just wait until it comes back up. So here, I don't care about how much it goes up and down and trying to minimise my losses. I would rather just stick with it till we're back up, which is almost inevitable, I'd imagine. So that my video just cut out because that was like 40 minutes long. I'm sorry. Oh, see this whiteboard here? This, I was like, oh, that's a pen. That's my whiteboard pen. Started writing and then looked and I was like, wait, Sharpie. Why did I link Sharpie to whiteboard pen in my head? So it's a Sharpie. Does it come off? So that was my original thinking, my brainstorming number one for my dissertation. Not original thinking. My original of this leg. So, next business. During my Engage ASM interview, they said we can do an interview of our choice. I decided to choose Cheeky Cats. That presentation is up on the channel. This channel. See it here. Woohoo. There's nothing exciting about it. It's literally just a kind of to talk about me and how I think, essentially. And so that went really well. And whilst I was doing it, I was thinking, imagine I still had this. It was it had 35,000 followers 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2021, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it had 35,000 followers. Now only has like 44,000 because the guy who bought it from me ended up hardly posting, sporadically, and then he just stopped posting like June last year. So went right downhill, but I'm just thinking of how many hundred thousands of followers it could have had if I kept with the rate of growth at which I was getting from the methods I was using. With videos, I was looking back, getting like 250,000 views, between 100,000 and 250,000 views, basically every video. So I was thinking, imagine I still had it. So I went and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start it again. And my tactic right now is, instead of trying to come up with new ideas and find the best videos, I did notice over having it a year that some videos would resurface. So you'd post a video, say, June, and it'd get loads of views. And then, come December, the same video would get posted again on other big platforms. And people wouldn't notice because it was so many videos ago. And it would get loads of views again. So I went back through my old videos, found the best ones which were performed, downloaded them in a repost tool. And now I'm just going to repost 3 a day. I have like 20 backed up or something like that. So I've like quite a while's worth of uploads without having to really do anything. I'm just going to use the same hashtags I used before, just to kind of get the ball rolling. And instead of doing it on my Cheetah Cats account, like the new one I made to save the name, which has like 30 followers, pardon me, instead of doing that, I'm going to do it just on Pets World, as I still own that, and it has like 1,100 followers. So I thought it gives me at least a little bit of traction, because I looked at my video that I posted 2 days ago has like 100 views, and then the ones that I posted yesterday are up at like 30. And then my story has like 35, 40 views. So although that doesn't sound like much, it's much more than absolutely nothing. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that and just see how the ball rolls with that, because what's the point in not doing it again? Especially if it's only going to take like 10 minutes a day. So that's that idea. My crypto portfolio app, I just couldn't justify the time to do it. Especially, everyone knows with coding, when you stop coding something for like 2 days and you go back, your brain is like, oh my god, I don't know what's going on, I don't know anything, I'll have to take hours to figure this out and find where I was. It won't, it will probably take you like 10 minutes, but your brain tells you this. So when I'm working and working out whatever, I can't justify in my head to then do my app when I'm like, I have interview stuff to prep for, I have uni work to do, I want to work out, you know? So, after today, when this gets uploaded, I can work on it again. Hopefully it will come out in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully a bull market will pursue, ensue, I don't know, whatever the word is. And that way, I've been talking now for ages. And that way, it should gain a little bit of popularity. So, finally, recreational stuff. Last week was so busy I didn't really do any recreational stuff. So the only thing I done was, gym. Me, mum, dad, and me, the 3 of us went to the gym together, like the upstairs gym, the women's gym, and that was really good. And then I went to the actual downstairs gym once, and me and dad went to the downstairs gym as well. So I went to the gym 3 times, which is a good start, especially with how busy last week was. Good to get back into it. It's funny, when you don't think about how you look, because you're just like working at a desk all day, you just don't think about it. Like, you think, I've lost a little bit of muscle, but that's it. It's not until you go to the gym and start working out again and you're looking at, like, say, your bicep, and you're like, my goodness, it's like half the size it used to be. Or you're looking at like your shoulders and you're like, there's no bubble here, like it doesn't. But and I was like, oh man, I need to get back at working out, and so that's what I've done. So this week I'll go today, tomorrow, and then probably not again until the weekend. I'll explain roughly why. So that's all I've done recreationally. Nothing. Week was well too busy for that kind of thing. Sometimes went up my little walks as well, half an hour, just to get out. It's nice, enjoyable. You notice that you have your phones in because you're like, well, I can't go anywhere without having something in my mind. That's when I need a dopamine detox, it looks like, for YouTube videos that I watch to procrastinate. But when you go out and then you take your headphone out and you start walking, you realise you don't want to put it back in. You're enjoying thinking. Give your brain a little bit of breathing room when you're out. Because you're consuming content so often and so frequently, you have to get away from it a little bit. And if you can't do it in the house, so like you play YouTube videos before and after, like even the shower, whilst you're getting changed, whilst you're making breakfast, which is what I do sometimes, most of the time. It's good to get it, to go out and just be with your own thoughts and just listen to nature and stuff. That's what I found. Will I do it again? Don't know. So quick brief plans for this week. I was supposed to go up today to Dundee to get my stuff. That was my plan, but I've shifted it to tomorrow to allow me time to prep for what I'll explain. So tomorrow, go to Dundee, pick up my stuff. Then I'm going to come back down to Kieran's, drop my stuff in there, stay there the night. Wednesday is my godson, wee Paddy's birthday. His first birthday, and I've not seen him yet. It's my fault that I've not seen him, but initially it started out as because of coronavirus and then just moving about and stuff. I just haven't seen him. I've not been up that way to see him and stuff. So I feel bad about that, but I've decided to myself I need to see him. What better time to see him than his birthday? To force myself to like go visiting and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be nice to finally meet him. So I'll see him on Wednesday. Him, my aunt Kellyanne, and my gran. Gonna go for lunch, I think, and then come back to Kieran's, stay there. Thursday I have my meeting. My supervisor, it's 3 till 4 p.m, so it's awkward. I can't really get up early and go down to Milton Keynes, because then by the time I get in, I'll be like dying, and I'm not going to have a productive conversation about my dissertation. I only get to see my supervisor like 3 times, so I can't waste that time dead like that. So I'm going to do that, and then on Friday I'm going to go and see Joanna, since it's her birthday on Saturday, so I'm excited for that. So I have another busy week ahead. But aye, so it's been a good week. Job offers, class. Hopefully in the next couple of hours I'll sort this research question out. And then this week's going to be busy. But it'll be another good week. And sorry, Future Look, for how long this video is. I'm just blabbering on today. Let's have a sick week. Bye.